bestowed on me today has been bestowed on me today. There's nothing greater, nothing more glorifying than coming home and being honored. This is my alma mater. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to this institution. And it's indeed an enormous privilege to stand here before you and to receive this honor today. I would like to compliment the leadership, the faculty, and the students of this university for the enormous growth and development that is taking place in this remarkable institution. I would like to recall in particular a great service that was performed by this faculty in converting me into an engineer economist from an industrial engineer. There are so many members of the faculty that I owe a great deal to, but I want to bring out the name of one single individual, Professor Tom Grenis. In my very first semester, as a candidate for the master's degree in industrial engineering, I took economics as my minor field. And I enrolled for a class, EC 401, which was economics for non-majors. And that really sparked my interest in this entire field of economics. And I said to myself, I've obviously been missing something that is my true avocation in life. And I recall, for the first time, I ran into the concept of the externalities that economic activities impose on the environment and on society. We had a thin little book, very interesting, very readable, called Tanstaffen. Now that stood as an acronym for the name There Ain't No Such Thing as a Free Lunch. And it was by Edwin Nolan. And I can't get this out of my mind because that really brought home to me the importance of looking at the economy in its widest context. You cannot look at economic activities purely in the sense of production and consumption decisions. You must close the loop and find out how we are impacting on spaceship Earth by pursuing what we regard as very narrow and perhaps very focused activities. I want to mention something that Chancellor Woodson has said. NC State is proud to be the People's University. It indeed is. And I'm sure when he talks about this being the People's University, he's talking about the people of the world. I think it is in that context that Chairperson Barbara Mulkey also referred to NCSU conducting groundbreaking research and solving global challenges. When I had the privilege of accepting the Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of the IPCC, I used an expression which comes from India, an ancient Sanskrit expression called Vasudev Kutumbakam, which means the universe is one family. And therefore, when we're talking about the people of the world, we must take into account the people of the world as a whole. I'm really privileged to share this occasion with two outstanding human beings, Dr. Buchanan and Mr. Stanton. And what Mr. Buchanan is doing is really path-breaking. I'd like to quote Mahatma Gandhi, one of the greatest human beings that's ever walked the face of this earth. When he was asked, what should we do about poverty in the world? His response was, recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man and ask yourself if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him. Dr. Buchanan is doing that in all his actions, day in and day out. As far as Mr. Stanton is concerned, a great conservationist, a great one for preserving the beauty, the wealth of nature. Again, Gandhi was once asked, what do you think of wildlife? And his response was, well, wildlife is decreasing in the jungles, but wildlife is growing in the cities. Now here I'd like to say that the problem of climate change, which we are facing on an increasing extent, has implications for the work of these two outstanding leaders as well. We had concluded in the fourth assessment report of the IPCC that warming of the climate system is unequivocal. In other words, it's beyond doubt. We also stated that most of the warming that has taken place since the middle of the last century was very likely on account of increase in the concentration of anthropogenic greenhouse gases. Now, when we use the term very likely, it means a probability of more than 90%. So that's something that human society has to take into account and do something serious to address. Recently, we brought out a special report on extreme events and disasters and how we might enhance adaptation to these extreme events. And we said very clearly, and I quote, extreme events will have greater impacts on sectors with closer links to climate, such as water, agriculture, and food security, forestry, health, and tourism. So the climate of this planet, which we are affecting indelibly, is going to have major impacts on all these sectors, which are the core of human existence. We also came up with the finding that those heat waves, which are taking place now in once in 20 years, if we don't do anything about this problem, will become events that occur once in 2 years in this century. We also said that the frequency of heavy precipitation events is going up, and that has major implications for people, safety, for property, and and the problems that we are likely to face as a result of damage that will take place. Also, increased extreme coastal high water would occur as a result of increase in the mean sea level. Now, what I want to highlight is also the fact that if the temperature of this planet was to increase on average beyond 1.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, then 20 to 30% of the species that we have assessed would be facing the threat of extinction.